Hi everybody, my name is Savannah Donovan and I work at the Anita Purvis Nature Center, and I'm here to show you my compost setup that I have at home. So there are lots of different ways that you can compost. There's many different types of bins available or different ways that you might choose to set up your composting situation at home. So what I'm going to do is just show you what I've got and kind of talk about some of the pros and cons of each so that you can make a better informed decision to purchase something or set up what's going to work for you at your house. So first, I want to show you these stalls. Now, a couple years ago, we did a composting workshop where we demoed how to build these stalls from old pallets. And it's really simple. We basically just zip tied these pallets together. They're reclaimed pallets, which is a nice reuse for them. Also, they're not treated wood, which is good also. So I've got two stalls here, and one of them is quite full, and honestly it's getting a little bit unmanageable almost. You don't really want to fill up a stall too big because you want to be able to get in there and turn your compost over. So this stall is looking better. This is some blend of different kinds of garden waste and food scraps from home. This was actually covered up by a lot of sticks and leaves, and I just kind of took that top layer off to show you the quality of this compost here. Now you're probably going to read or learn that it's always good to turn your compost over. And so, every once in a while you can get in here and mix your compost up to see if it's really, homogeneous, if things have broken down a lot. Or if it still needs some time to age. I know there's still some sticks and a few larger pieces in here, but honestly, this is good enough for me to start applying to my garden beds. I don't mind, hand picking out some of those sticks and things. This is pretty much ready to roll. So this is my good compost over here. Now, if I wanted to let that keep aging, I would add some of this pile over. One of the benefits of having multiple stalls is that you can, instead of turning it over within the stall, you can turn it from one stall to the next. So now theoretically, if I got all of this debris here that's not very well broken down and I moved it into another stall, I probably got a good amount of compost underneath here as well that's ready to use. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a wheelbarrow, fill it up with all of this compost for my garden bed, and then I'm gonna take the top half of this pile, put it back over here in this stall, and I'm kind of ready to start from scratch. So this is for processing a lot of compost. I don't like to send my garden waste off, I don't send it to the landscape recycling center, even though that's a great alternative if you do have sticks or limbs or other yard waste that you need to get rid of. It's a great way to recycle it. But if you want to try to do everything at home, I really fill this up with trimmings when I trim my hedges, leaves when I rake my leaves in the fall, all kinds of sticks and pieces of plants from, last year, kind of when your plants wilt and die back. You take all that stuff and I just throw it on the top of the pile here. So this is a pretty low maintenance situation that I've got. I could have another stall if I wanted to. I could also put a front door on these stalls. It's nice if you have it so it can hinge open so that you can get in there and access it, but it helps to keep it contained and keep it from flowing out into your yard if that's not something that you're comfortable with. All right, I'm going to show you another compost bin that I have. I like to keep my shovel and pitchfork out while I'm working with my compost. These are the two tools that I use most often for these two setups here. So this is the free garden earth bin. I was really liking to put a lot of my food scraps in here because it has a lid so it keeps the animals out of it. So you can see they've tried. There's some chew marks. This thing's a few years old, so the squirrels have gnawed on it a little bit. I'm going to open it up, give you a glimpse inside. It's got just one way for me to remove the lid here. And inside you'll see there's a layer of leaves here, and then I've started to put some of my fresh organic matter on top. So you'll see some watermelon rinds and eggshells here, some weeds on top here. The best way to do these is to really make a concerted effort to layer your greens and your browns. Greens are, typically green plants or food waste, and your browns are your dead things, so your dried leaves and twigs. And layering it is going to both, make sure that it doesn't get smelly, it keeps the bugs down, it keeps the critters out. So there are, best practices. Please look to our resources that we have available. But there's kind of a happy medium that you want to strike in there with, the percentage of browns versus greens. So some nice things about this setup is, like this over here, it's open soil on the bottom of it. So there's no bottom to this container, and that allows soil organisms and microorganisms to go up from the ground and into your compost. And they are really what's going to be processing most of that and turning it into soil again. So that's a great plus on this. Another thing I like about this bin is it's got this easy access point in the front. So if I'm doing well composting this in this bin, I should have fresh, ready to use compost that's able to come out of the bottom here. I will tell you, it's kind of dry in there. I don't have fresh compost that's ready to use right now. So there's a combination of things going on here. It's not getting enough moisture in here is one. So I could take a hose out and I could add some moisture to this. That would help to speed things along. Worms, soil need wet soil, damp soil to be able to dry. At your location would also heat up and allow some decomposition just by the temperature. So things can get hot in a black composting bin, and again, it just speeds that process along. But I don't expect, if it was really hot in here, that I'd get as many soil organisms. They might be found, lower in the levels here, but probably not higher up. So now I'm going to show you a third setup that I have. This is a rolling compost bin. This takes the mechanical turning over with like a shovel, and it lets you just spin it. So that's a great plus for this setup. I don't have to get my shovel like I do with the other two setups here and turn things over and make sure that they're getting processed. I just have to turn it. So you can do half a turn every day. Now you'll notice there is not going to be any fresh soil in here unless I add scoops of soil to it. So you can add soil to any of your compost setups, and that's going to have some soil microorganisms in it. So in fact, if I were to take fresh soil and layer it in any of my compost bins, it should help to speed up that process. I don't know how long a worm would live in here if it was trying to decompose all of my compost. It does have some holes in here for drainage, but they're small enough to keep the critters out. These can get really warm. So if I were to place this in a sunny spot in my yard, it could get, again, really hot in here and really break things down. So one thing I've considered is, if I want to be able to apply compost to my garden bed that is like relatively sterile, if I'm not wanting to have any weed seeds or other things sprouting, then it's good to hot compost that, and it kind of kills off any of those seeds or other things before you put it on your garden bed. So this could also serve as like a last stage. This is how you access this one. So it's not quite as convenient for daily use because you do have to screw and unscrew, which I'm not doing a good job demonstrating right now. There we go. This one's empty right now. I haven't started using this new bin, but it just comes off like this. So pretty simple. All right, now I do have one more very small scale composting operation at my house. It's really more of a vermiculture than a vermicomposting situation right now. So we are growing some composting worms inside our house. So I don't keep this outside. I keep this inside my home. They actually live on our kitchen counter. And these little worms, they're kind of our pets now. So there are red wigglers in here, and we're just feeding them and encouraging them to grow and lay eggs. And as they do, we can upgrade to a larger vermicompost system. If you're attending one of our workshops or you're looking at some of our resources, there should be a lot more resources available for how to construct a larger scale vermicompost or vermiculture bin at your home. So again, thank you so much for joining me on this tour of compost, and I hope to see you again sometime. Thank you. Bye.